yeah, Wicks messed the route up. He went deep, and they kind of busted the coverage, so he kind of threw a hand up, just playing off schedule. But I'm throwing it to MG, and this was one of those ones where you're like, oh gosh, man, I hope one of these guys catch it because they're about to run into each other. So that's not a fun throw, but you're just hoping one of these guys comes down with it.
Welcome back to another episode of Tape Talk. Today we got the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, the best quarterback in the NFC North, Jordan Love.
Yo, what's up, bro? Excited to be here, man. Excited to see what we got today.
Let's get into some film. So we're going to start out with week 1 against the Lions. And before we really dive into the film, what I want to ask is how does the film study, the game prep change in a game like week 1 compared to like a game we're going to look at later, week 14 against the Bears? What changes since you don't have all that film throughout the season to look at?
Yeah, I think week 1's obviously always the toughest game to prepare for because, like you said, you don't have any of that bank film throughout the season. There's new players on the defense. There might be new defense coordinators, so you don't even know what type of defense they might be running. So a lot of the film you do watch during the week is all stuff from the year before, stuff from wherever the coordinator came from. So you might not even be watching some of the guys that might be out there on the field. You might be watching a whole different team if the coordinator came from a different place. So it's always tough. You prepare for all these unscouted looks, and you don't know what you're going to get until you get out there during the game.
How much does preseason play a role? And since they've decreased the preseason game, is it harder to watch film in week 1?
Well, I think preseason really doesn't even play a factor. You got to think preseason defenses really aren't showing you what they're going to do. They play mainly like cover 3, man, like pretty basic stuff. And so it's tough. Yeah, like you'll watch some preseason stuff on the team, but a lot of the time some of the starters aren't even out there. And it's mainly some of the vanilla looks. So you might watch all this preseason stuff, watch stuff from the year before. You come out in the game and you're seeing totally different looks. And I think for the most part the base stuff is similar, but third downs, all those pressure packages, that's where it gets tricky.
Now we get into the actual film, and first things first, this is obviously week 1 against the Lions on a 2nd and 9. And you motion in Kraft here pretty much right as you guys get set. Can you explain what you're looking at as that motion happens, how you're reading the defense, and how you're seeing it as that motion comes in?
Yeah, anytime we motion, we're trying to undress the defense, trying to get any type of tell. Is it man? Is it zone? Who's walked out there on the tight end? Defense might be trying to disguise too high, and you motion, and now they start kind of showing what the true defense is. So you just try and get any type of tells when you motion a guy.
When you're watching Tucker Kraft motion in, how does that dictate then what you're processing post-snap? Does that change after what you're seeing the motion? If you see a certain look, are you now kind of thinking in your head, I got to go from this read to this read?
I mean, there's so many things that you're thinking pre-snap. It's all play dependent. Like this play right here was probably a play where we got 2 plays called in the huddle, and we're trying to motion to get that man zone information, 1 high, 2 high information, to decide which play we want to run. And obviously right here we end up running this one based on, they're kind of showing a man look. Obviously the corner's walked out. And so some teams will do that too. They won't even walk a safety out or a linebacker out on a tight end because they don't want to give you that man zone indicator. So they'll kind of adjust, we call it one adjust, how they do it.
I gotcha. So we're going to look at a very similar one of these plays later in the game. I would believe they correlate, but the last question for this play, how does a 7-man protection change your internal clock? Like this one, you've literally got 7 guys blocking for you, plus chip help from the running back. You gotta know you're gonna have more time. And with that happening, how does it change how you want to play quarterback?
Yeah, I mean like you said, when you got all that protection, you understand as a quarterback, we're gonna have time here. Like we should be locked down in pass pro. There should be no issues when they bring any types of pressures, things like that. So we got a solid protection. Obviously, the tough part is you're not getting everybody out. You're only getting maybe 2 or 3 guys out in routes. So you got to have a really good play on versus the defense you're going against, or else guys will be gloved. They'll have too many guys dropping into coverage, and nobody will be open.
All right, so now we move on to play number 2, and first things first, I see you looking all around. You're really reading this defense. They're showing blitz. Can you explain kind of what you're seeing pre-snap and how that's impacting what you're going to end up doing on this play?
Yeah, I mean, pre-snap, you look at it at the beginning. They got that 42 TAA front with both backers mugged up. So you automatically go to the protection mindset of trying to figure out, all right, are they bringing up pressure? You start keying the safeties. Is one guy rotating down versus the other guy to try to figure out, any of those pressure tells. Which linebacker might be coming? Are they both coming? Are they both dropping? So there's so much information you can gain from that pre-snap, and you just want to make sure that you're getting the protection squared away, and you understand where your hots are at, where your best throws are if you do end up being hot.
So kind of like what you were saying on 3rd and long blitzes, for when it's later in the season, you have more film study to be able to know, like in this situation, maybe both of these linebackers are coming. Maybe they're dropping off a defensive end. That's what the film study is super helpful for, like these kind of situations.
Definitely. We'll have a whole breakdown of whatever the down and distance is, 3rd and 7 to 10, 3rd and 4 to 6, and you'll see all the pressure patterns, all the different coverages that the teams ran. So we'll get probably like 20 different looks at this 42 TAA package that they have, and all the different pressures they bring, and then you look at the back end, look at the DBs, and try and pick together what kind of defense you're looking at. And right here, I would guess it's going to be some type of man with pressure.
So this plays into the man coverage. Is this supposed to be a rub concept where, like, when you would motion him out and back in, then like the vertical release here interferes with the corner, and he gets open against man coverage, but then they banjoed. Is that what happened here?
Exactly. You're seeing Jay Reed motion back down. We're hoping that the guy that's locked on him will stay with him. We're trying to sell like we're running, a mesh, a drive concept where we're getting a rub by the point guy and making that guy try and play over the top. And actually this concept, we're trying to, have a play off of it, where now we're running that kind of whip route. And you want that DB to run over the top thinking he's getting beat, and next thing you know, the receiver's running back out the other way, and he's kind of in no man's land. And obviously, you see right here, they did a great job passing it off. And so that's one of those things you would see, throughout film study that, they pass stuff off when you do motions like this, but we just didn't know.
And then, so when you're seeing stuff like that, I notice you immediately see, as soon as it seems like as soon as they banjo, bang, you're on to your second progression or whatever it might be. Can you explain how important it is to be able to process that kind of information at that speed?
Yeah, it's very important. I think just being able to get through progressions in the NFL with, some real deal pass rushes is super critical. And like you said, this concept right here, we didn't get what we wanted. So understanding the offense, understand what we're trying to accomplish, you can see right away, all right, they've got this concept glove. So let me get off my first and second read and get backside here to be able to let this basic win.
Now, at this point, like, obviously you've been playing football forever. Is that a conscious thing? Like, are you thinking, oh, shoot, they banjoed it, let me work to my second read? Or is it just so natural at this point that it's kind of second nature, where it's just, you see the switch and it's almost all subconscious? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely is. That's that muscle memory. We work these plays so much throughout practice, seeing different looks where, the more looks, more reps you have, you can understand when a coverage is going to be great, when a coverage might not be good, and then it all just helps you, like I said, progress through those reads and be able to get backside. And, my first, second year, I might have got stuck on that read, kind of just trying to see it, let it play out, and now I'm late getting back to the backside, or I'm getting sacked because I'm taking too long. So it's all muscle memory at this point, where you're just able to go and play free and trust what you see.
All right, so now we get into what I think is one heck of a touchdown. But first, we got to talk about this motion from Jacobs, because I see it kind of shifts the backers, and you kind of run this motion twice, and then Jacobs ends up getting matched up against Anzalone in man coverage. Were you seeing that man coverage pre-snap? And if so, why don't you hit Jacobs here? Because to me, it seems like this route concept would work really well against man coverage when you got a linebacker on Jacobs. But, I mean, obviously there was no issue here. You got a touchdown. But just kind of take me through that.
Yeah, pre-snap, like you said, we motioned Josh out real quick to just get another feel. What are the linebackers doing? Are they trying to match him and run with him on the motion? Is a DB moving out and then it's going to be a zone coverage? Just trying to get a pre-snap, what's going on. And these motions are so crucial at that. And then you see Josh motions back, get set, and now I'm like, all right, I kind of got a feel for what we're getting here. let's send him again, get this play going. And then the concept here, I'm actually pretty much reading it inside out. So I'm starting with Tucker to Wicks on the post and then to Josh. So, I'm not immediately going, all right, is Josh went on this route? I'm reading it just inside out, kind of keying that post safety that's over the top of them. And just trying to let him make a decision and let the routes go in.
So this ends up essentially being you're primarily reading this deep safety, and like if he were to super aggressively drive on Kraft like right about now, then you're working to Wicks and then Jacobs.
Exactly. I mean, we're kind of getting a quarters man, 2-manish look here. So this play is really great versus, quarters. You're trying to just read that safety over the top of these routes. And is he going to grab Tucker? Then it kind of opens up for that post over the top. If he stays soft on the post, then you got Tucker. And Tucker did a great job being able to get over top of that linebacker and really bend his route back in. So I got a spot to throw it.
Heck of a ball, heck of a catch. All right, so now I was interested to see this play because I can't tell what you're pointing out here. Are you pointing out the backer or the safety here on this one? They end up rotating he goes way back, and then they end up rotating this safety back. This is an interesting defense. I want to understand what you're seeing pre-snap, and are you able to even share kind of what you're calling out here?
Yeah, so pre-snap, I'm kind of feeling the rotation, what's going on here. I do use my hard count, and I felt we're getting pressure over here on the right side. So the point out I'm doing is actually a protection adjustment where we're miking Anzalone, the backer, and then, we're able to get the back running over there on a branch. So we're able to pick this. It's like the perfect protection call for this blitz. We're able to pick it up perfectly. And then that's another thing. You feel they're trying to show a one-high look. You see how soft the nickel is over there to the field. So that's kind of a giveaway. All right, we're getting pressure here opposite, and they're going to be dropping to some type of 2B, 44B coverage here.
Okay, so then based off of that information, now you know that since he's bailing out, bang, you want to zip it into the seam?
Yeah, so Jay Reed's pretty much running a read route. You're trying to run it off the safety that's over the top of you. And once you feel that nickel getting deep and sinking, he's just going to keep that thing nice and vertical, exactly like he's doing. If it was a post safety, like if you go back to the beginning, when it's post safety, he's thinking I'm trying to cut across to the opposite hash in front of that post safety. But he doesn't, this is why coverage recognition is so important for the receivers to understand, we're not getting one high, we're getting some sort of disguise, mask, shell coverage here.
Oh, I gotcha. So if they stayed in like a closed field coverage, is that what you're saying? Then
yep.
he would have broken in more like on like this kind of post?
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, when you get the blitz, you're able to pick it up. You kind of understand already, all right, I know what I'm getting here, and then you just let it play out, let the routes go, and, make the throw.
So now I want to ask about the rub concepts. We kind of mentioned them earlier, but Matt LaFleur, this guy is unbelievable at dialing up rub concepts. Like Wicks perfectly interferes with Jaden Reed's man defender, and then bang, I mean, he's off. It's a touchdown. Are you able to share anything about what makes you guys so effective at rub concepts? It is the most awesome thing to watch. It's like weekly.
No, that's great. And I mean, I think the biggest thing with rub concepts for receivers is just understanding the mindset, understanding where you want to make the guy go. Do you want the defender to go underneath you? Or do you want him to go over top of you? And then I think the next step is understanding where they're at and the rules of the NFL and how the refs are officiating. Like if that guy's 1 yard or closer pressed up, you can actually hit the guy. And if not, if he's anything deeper than 1 yard, you can't make any contact whatsoever or they'll throw a flag. So understanding for Wicks, he did a great job not, making any contact, letting the guy go around him, but he's still making sure he goes underneath of him so Jay Reed can get up over the top.
That's a heck of a play from Wicks. I wouldn't have even known that, but that's awesome.
For him,
I
like
love
with his eyes, like putting his hands up, trying to show that he's ready for the ball, not making contact. So that's a great job by him. But guys just got to know the rules and understand what we're trying to accomplish.
You can tell Matt LaFleur coaches that well.
Oh, for sure. He does a great job dialing that stuff up, making sure everybody's on the same page with it.
So now we get to the play I mentioned earlier on the first play. I would believe they correlate. You get a very similar motion from Kraft. He ends up in a similar spot. You get another very strong pass protection. You get a lot of guys in pass protection. Can you explain how that works as a quarterback? Like you call a play earlier in the game, and you run it successfully. How does that change when you line up in a similar look later in the game? What are you thinking in response, like knowing the fact that you've already shown that look?
Yeah, I mean that's what makes Matt another reason why he's so special is he tries to do a great job of making everything look the same. Presenting the same formations where we run multiple different plays and concepts out of it. But to the defense, like you said, pre-snap it all looks the same. We're getting the same formation, kind of different motion now. He's coming from the boundary, but it all looks the same. We're essentially running the same protection, but now the routes are different. So all those things kind of just mess with the defense and. Like you said, going into a game, we might have multiple concepts called out of the same formation, and you might run one and go to the sideline and say, "Hey, this wasn't the look we wanted. Let's try a different play." So all those things play a factor in it.
I gotcha. I see here I believe this would be a kill. Mm-hmm. Are you? Is you mentioned it on the first clip where you have like 2 plays coming out of the huddle? Mm-hmm. Is that an example of when you're moving to the second play?
Yep, that's an example of right there. We're canning the play, so we're going to huddle with 2 plays called, and once we can it, all right, everybody knows we're moving to that second play based on whatever the look may be for that can criteria.
Would you mind sharing here what you saw that caused you to can this play?
Yeah, I think this one was like we had 2 different pass concepts on, and you're just pretty much I think it was based off man or zone, and right here we're kind of getting a zone look, so. We don't want to run those kind of man beater routes we ran on the earlier rep with those kind of trying to sell the crossing routes and win it back out over top. So we went with the second option here, which is a little bit better versus zone. They kind of played a little bit of a matchy kind of defense with that post safety super low trying to rob stuff. So I really don't even know. It might be like a 2 Philly type coverage we'd classify it as.
I gotcha. And so this route concept is better against zone because you kind of clear the underneath defenders with this like deep hook, and then the hook is obviously working against the deep zone, correct?
Yep. Yeah, you're trying to get over, like you said, that second level of backers and be able to shut it down where that deep third defender stays on top, and that's exactly what happened right here.
Now this play was interesting to me because you guys come out. This is what, 3rd play of the game. And it's a 3rd and long, and you come out and just quick snap it. Bang. I mean, center got hand on the ball, snapped it immediately, and then all of a sudden you got 2 guys running free downfield. What did you see? I know this had to have been a look that you guys had been practicing throughout the week.
We actually bust the routes up top. Wicks wasn't supposed to be doing that. He's supposed to be running like an out route, be able to hold. If that corner attaches to him, and then MG's kind of running that route to be able to get over the top. If that corner attaches, and we got him. And like you mentioned, like that's a look we knew we could get versus defense. Sometimes those corners stayed latched on, and we can get over the top running pretty much on a backer right here. And yeah, Wicks messed the route up. He went deep, and they kind of busted the coverage, so he kind of threw a hand up just playing off schedule. But I'm throwing it to MG, and this was one of those ones where you're like, oh gosh, man, I hope one of these guys catch it because they're about to run into each other. So that's not a fun throw, but you're just hoping one of these guys comes down with it.
That was an unbelievable play. I couldn't believe watching that live that was completed. I think there had to have been something that happened there because you don't have 2 routes that close to each other.
No, never. You never dial stuff up like that.
Now, this one I feel like is a really good kind of visual example of how the motion can change what you're seeing. Because like pre-snap to me, you kind of see this quarter shell, like they're all kind of off. You have flat defender, middle zone, flat defender. And then as soon as that motion happens, Kraft, as he motions out, you kind of see that drop off. If I go back a little bit, you can see him rotating down. Like all of a sudden to me, this looks like they're rotating into a cover 3. Can you explain how that motion and how you're seeing that, how that then impacts the play, kind of like what we've discussed before?
Yeah, I mean, this is the NFL for you. Like every play you go out there, defenses will try and present a certain look. Similar to offense, they're going to try and show you shell when they know they might be going to 3 weak right here. So it's all just to mess with the quarterback. And like you said, as a quarterback, you start thinking, all right, they're in shell. This is where I might be going with my read. Oh, we motion. Now they're adjusting, and now your process is all kind of changing on the fly on where you might be going with the ball and where you think the ball's going to end up. So they do a great job right here, kind of holding it. Like you said, you send the motion and you feel them start, coming down because they gotta get to a certain area.
Are you seeing this DB rotate down? Because, like, I see as that happens, your eyes are over to the right. Like, are you even aware that they're moving into a cover 3 here? Because it is so subtle. Like, obviously in hindsight I can tell, but live, that's got to be so subtle.
Oh yeah, I mean, as a quarterback, like this is where I've gained experience over the years where you start feeling these things, you start feeling the movement, and then it all comes back down to film study, kind of have an understanding of what they like to get to coverage-wise. But yeah, I mean, you're getting outside leverage by the nickel over there, so you're kind of thinking, all right, they might be getting to a one high, and then post snap, it's all about you know what coverage it is now. Now you're trying to do a great job with my eyes holding that post safety to the right, so he can't make a play over here. Because I know I'm going to be coming back over here if Rome wins.
Now, we move into a rep. 22 seconds left in the game. You got to get into field goal range. Can you explain what it's like being in the headset during a 2-minute drill? How much more freedom do you have? Are you able to adjust anything on the fly? What's it like being a quarterback in the NFL in a 2-minute drill?
Man, 2-minute is definitely the most, kind of stressful and situation there is, where there's so much going on. You're dealing with how much time you got left, what's the score, what's the situation, do we need a touchdown, do we need a field goal, how many timeouts do we have left. So just trying to get everybody on offense on the same page of what the situation is and what we need out of this drive, so everybody can have that right mindset. As a receiver, do I need to catch the ball, get out of bounds, do I need some more yards, do we have timeouts? So there's so much at the beginning of the drive that we talk about, and like you said, right here, 22 seconds left. We kind of crossed the 50. We need about 10 more yards kind of to get into field goal range, and we can accomplish that with 22 seconds left.
Absolutely. So what I really want to understand is, like, let's say this play ended in bounds. Like, he gets tackled right here, it's in bounds, you're all going up to the line. As soon as that play ends, is LaFleur in the headset talking to you immediately? Like, how does that work, kind of logistically?
Definitely. I mean, if this is probably a stop clock, where we huddled up before. So in that situation, Matt will be in your headset like, hey, there's 22 seconds left. I don't know if we have timeouts or not, but he'd be like, hey, we have no timeouts. So if we get any type of completion in bounds, be ready to get up and clock the ball immediately. So you already kind of go into the huddle telling everybody, hey, if this happens, we're going to be clocking it. If not, if we have timeouts, we might be burning a timeout if we get tackled in bounds. So all that communication, and then like you said, after the play, yeah, Matt will be immediately in my head, whatever it would be. He'll be like, hey, clock, or hey, timeout, or, whatever. If we're getting on the ball, he'll be yelling out a play. So there's some pretty fast communication that's going on.
Do you guys have like a 2-minute game script? Like, I know a lot of, or pretty much every team has like an opening game script. Is there like a 2-minute drill game script pregame for every game?
Yeah, we have pretty much, I'll call it a 2-minute menu of plays we get to. And, we got a menu of about 20 plays where we got some no huddle plays where we're just getting on the ball. And then we got some more plays where it's like, muddle huddle type where we might be trying to slow the clock down. So we got a variety of different plays, and we practice this stuff every week. I think if we could, we'd practice it every day, because we all know 2-minute drills are the moments that can win you or lose you the game. So it's so crucial and critical that everybody's dialed in, knows what we're doing, and is on the same page.
This was another play I couldn't wait to get into because it makes no schematic sense. And this is some of the stuff I see with you because you're such a accurate and aggressive quarterback, but like this makes no sense to me. They're obviously running Tampa 2. This guy might have a deep zone, but it operates very much like a Tampa 2. He opens the hips to the strength receiving side. And just in my head, immediately, there's no way you're throwing this ball. Golden is running a hitch. In a Tampa 2, you have those 3 interior zones. What is going through your head thinking, like, I'm going to rip this hitch against a Tampa 2 right at the moment he's settling against the middle runner? I mean, this is a heck of a play.
Yeah, no, this was a 4th down, in the end of the game here, critical moment. But the concept we're running is essentially like everybody's trying to run past the sticks to a certain landmark and pretty much shut it down around the same spot. So it's great versus look. I mean, you see Tampa 2, that Mike's trying to get out of there. And right here, he's trying his best to stay on top. He knows MG. He's got him down the pipe with speed. So he's trying to stay on top. And MG does a great job just threatening him with speed, making him run, and then shutting it down. And right there, that's an open window in the NFL. And, the read would kind of be reading off the squeeze of whichever hook defender is squeezing, and then you progress out to either of the outside routes.
When you say working off the squeeze, like what do you mean? Like this hook defender, you're seeing how hard he squeezes to the inside and follows Golden?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting with MG, starting down the middle, and like you said, if the nickel squeeze, I progress out to the field. If the will squeeze, I progress down here to the boundary and really just play off them. So you're just trying to drop back and evaluate what are they doing as a defense. And, you know, the nickel tried to get hands on right there, but I felt him buzzing out, and we had enough of a window right there to be able to fit it in.
That's a heck of a play. This was my favorite play from you that I saw, especially since it was 4th and 6. Like, you had to have it. That was beautiful. Okay, so now this is OT. You got 2 minutes left, and you got a ton of pre-snap communication. Can you take me through kind of what you're seeing pre-snap, what the kill, maybe audible, whatever it might be? Can you explain to the best extent you can kind of what you're seeing and what you're communicating to the rest of the offense here?
Yeah, this is another one of those plays where we got 2 plays called in the huddle. Obviously, one, I can't remember this exact one, what we had, but it might have been, a different route by Wicks, different routes by the receivers down here. And then based on the coverage we're seeing, we're changing the routes to get to something that would be a little bit more favorable.
So Golden on this play. Golden, I notice as he's running the whip, I feel like in hindsight, he would be the guy that you really want to hit, just like as he's coming back in, he seems the most open to me. Can you explain to the audience why, like, even though he might be open here and like maybe a fan on TV is seeing that, like, throw it to Golden, why wouldn't you throw it to Golden? Can you explain like the progressions and kind of how that impacts that you might just miss open receivers?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the read. What's the play? As a quarterback, how am I reading this play? So right there, obviously, Wicks is the number one. We're coming out, we're trying to hit Wicks on that kind of choice route, go win on that linebacker. MG's really the backside of this progression, so, he's running kind of a double move route. That would never be the number one. So obviously, like you said, he is open, but as a quarterback, you never pass up a first read to move on to somebody else who you're guessing if he's going to be open or not. When Wicks right here is open, we got enough space, we're able to get him and move the sticks right here. But yeah, there's plenty of concepts and times like that where people might slow the film down and say, hey, this guy was open right here, but it really goes back down to, hey, how is the quarterback reading the play? What routes are we looking at first over other guys?
All right, so now we move into the Bears game in week 14. This was one heck of a game. And this play I just adore because there's so many aspects to it. You got perfect protection up front. It seemed like the routes did a great job attacking the coverage. I did my own video on this play where I saw that the Bears were running a very similar blitz a few weeks prior in a similar situation. Can you explain the film study that went into this play and kind of what you were seeing and remembering the film study that took place?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we talked about earlier, is throughout the week of whoever you're preparing for is understanding what the tendencies are, what kind of patterns they like to do blitz-wise, and just what they like to run as a defense. And so, like you said, the Bears, they've ran this same, lineup in front before. They've blitzed guys, they've bluffed and dropped everybody out, they've run multiple coverages, so that's where it gets so important of trying to pick up little details and kind of who's giving away the coverage and might be doing little tells like that. So, right here, you come up, this is when it's so tough as a quarterback, you come up and pretty much feels like everybody's on the line of the scrimmage right here. So you immediately got to go figure out, all right, how can I pick this pressure up if they bring everybody? Where am I hot from if we're not able to pick this up? So we changed the protection. We're able to get to something that, was the perfect call. We're able to pick everybody up right here, unless they added on Jalen Johnson right here on the right side, which they don't. But, yeah, the kind of the back end, you're seeing they're getting to all out. Everybody's pretty much off at 10 yards, playing flat-footed as DBs. So, yeah, we knew pre-snap, all right, we're getting all out right here.
And this is an example of your just most beautiful back foot fadeaway throw. It's the most gorgeous thing ever. Can you explain how that aspect of your game helps with the blitz? Because it's got to buy you some extra time, right?
Yeah, it does. It does buy you extra time, especially when like in this situation, they're bringing all out. And if Jalen Johnson, the corner right here, added on, which, some teams will do when they see a guy blocking, they'll add on and now they're a free hitter. If he comes, we don't have anybody to block him, so he's going to get a hit off on me. So as much as I can, just try and drift in that pocket, buy myself some time to be able to let these routes go in. And right here, he didn't end up adding on, so I really didn't need to do it. But I don't know that right here. Like, I'm trying to keep my eyes down the field and see what's going on with the DBs.
How did Watson's route here pack the leverage here? Was that the primary route given this look?
So we checked this route right here based on this kind of all-out look we were getting. But yeah, you're seeing all out. So we got Jay Reed kind of running this route where he's attacking, number 9 right here, Brisker, the safety, to make sure that he attaches to him and grabs him. And then, Christian's kind of already got leverage with that safety, a little bit head up to outside, where now we got all this field where he can run. If he can win inside and, push it up with some speed, we got all this field where I can just lay the ball up and there's nobody over there. So that's a really tough play for a safety to be able to guard a guy 10 yards off. And, Christian's one of the more faster guys in the NFL. So that's a tough guy to run with across the field like that. But it's just, a great concept for what we're getting, what the defense is doing.
All right, so now we have a little bit of eye manipulation, I would think. Like right here, you end up throwing the hitch, but this linebacker crashes towards, I think that's Jacobs. Yeah, Jacobs. He crashes towards Jacobs, even though you end up throwing it directly to the hitch. Did you use your eyes here to manipulate that backer?
Yeah, this is another instance, like right here, pre-snap, you can see they're getting to Tampa 2. And so, in Tampa 2, these hook defenders right here, they're keying your eyes. They're trying to stay inside at number 2 right here, and they're just keying your eyes and kind of floating. So I try and do my best to always keep my eyes down the middle of the field when I drop back and just try and get a feel for what they're doing. And right here, he did a good job. He's kind of underneath them. So you'd think just throw it to the check down, but like I said, keep my eyes down the field. I felt him kind of melting inside, and I knew I'd be able to get Musgrave.
Was that a little pump fake right there that you did to the running back, or am I just overthinking that?
No, that is. You can see it, yeah, just a little bit. It's one of those.
And that's what got him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like I said, he's dropping pretty deep. I'm thinking in my head, all right, move to the check down, and I go to throw it, and you feel that guy driving it, and so now you can, I got a chance to get an extra 10 yards by throwing this route that's a little bit deeper.
So then, this one is just a perfect play call from Matt LaFleur. I mean, you get, I would say that's a rotating Tampa 2 invert style defense, cover 2 invert. And so this safety, just for the audience, I'm not explaining to you, I promise. The safety is dropping off, but since he's coming from lower depth, he's more likely holding on to this guy. And then you have the deeper post that's going to obviously go where this deep safety would have been had this guy not been there. Can you explain once again kind of how these looks come about? And like when you see this kind of look, are you getting excited because you have the perfect play dialed up?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, for us, we have a lot of different concepts where we run very similar routes, and one guy's route might be the only thing that changes. So I mean, from a defense standpoint, we're getting kind of a quarter half where they're playing cloud to the field over there and quarters to this backside. So, pre-snap, you're like, all right, I hope this is the look that I think it is, and then you just got to wait post-snap to see what they do. What do these safeties do? How are they rotating? And like you said, Jay Reed's running that kind of deep route to try and hold that backside safety so we can get Bo on that big post over the top where that cloud safety, that deep half safety is not going to be able to get there. But it's one of those really long developing plays where, you drop back and it's a tough read. You're almost trying to throw all 3 of these routes on one hitch timing. So it is a tougher read for us. But like you said, when you kind of see a premier coverage, you start licking your chops a little bit, hoping that it plays out the way you want it to.
I gotcha. Wow. That was a beautiful rep right there.
Yeah.
So then this one, first off, just to confirm, this is an RPO, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So how on an RPO, how does, kind of like what we mentioned on that first play, how does that internal clock change? Like, how much are you aware of the offensive line going downfield and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you definitely got to be aware of what the O line's doing. Any RPO, you know you can't hold on to the ball. You can't let those O linemen get downfield because that play is going to be coming back. So really, I mean, on these things, you kind of got to have a pre-snap of what's your key, who are you keying on these, and make a pretty quick.
What's your key here?
Right here, I mean, we see man coverage, so we're really trying to let these routes win. They got all the backers mugged up, so it's not like we're trying to read if a backer's running up in the A gap or anything. So I really do a token fake just to make sure that everybody's staying there, and I'm gonna have this window to throw that slant to Christian. But yeah, like you said, you gotta be able to get that ball out quick right here. But this is kind of the perfect defense for what we wanted with this concept.
All right, so then the last play that we're gonna look at, we have Christian Watson inserting on like a C-gap insert. The Packers, you guys used it a good amount. Like obviously the Rams used it as well. Can you explain kind of what that does to a defense and how the C-gap insert is such an effective scheme because it's really taken over the NFL?
Yeah, well, we have so many gap scheme runs that we do where, the receiver's job on this play, you're inserting to block that safety. Like that safety is an unblocked guy, so you got to get in there to get him. And as you see, like, you'll have run plays and where he's blocking the guy, and then we'll have these pass plays like this where you're kind of going in to bluff. And when you get this coverage, you see how kind of dialed in those safeties are when they see that motion that, that run's coming, I got to be able to fill this gap right here and kind of stuff it. So they're diving way down in there, and now we're able to run a play where Christian's bluffing him and getting back on a route.
So let me ask a question about like how motions logistically work. So like right now, before the can, does Christian have any motion? Like is he stationary? Like if you were to snap the ball before that can, is he still motioning and doing the C-gap insert? How does that work?
No, so on this particular play, like he wouldn't. If we didn't can the play, he would just stay right there and try and go block the safety. But because that safety's way down in there in that C gap, now we're canning the play, and now he knows. And this is one of those things where everybody knows, from practice and just going through our installs, through our OTAs and training camp, what our system is. Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? And so Christian's a smart guy. He knows, all right, we're trying to get in and bluff that safety, make him think the run's coming. But yeah, before the can, there's no motion. So that's where you got to be so dialed in of what we're trying to do. And there's all these moving parts where guys' roles are changing on all these cans, and it happens so fast. With you got the play clock going against you, so all these things happen so fast where guys got to be dialed in.
And then the last question for you: is this your hardest throw? Like you got a crosser with tight man coverage. I mean, you fit it in there perfectly. Is that the hardest throw? And if not, what is?
Man, that's a good one. I don't think this is the hardest throw. I think they are tough. When you got man coverage, you got a DB kind of draped on the guy on his back hip, like you better not miss. If you miss that throw a little bit behind, that DB's making a play, he's getting his hand on it, he might pick it, and then obviously if you miss too far in front, you're just missing the throw. So the room for error and the margin for error is very low. You got to throw a good ball, but I love these routes. I love when we got, runaways with a guy with speed kind of winning on the DB, and, you kind of just lay it out there for him and let Jay Reed go get it. But they're very tough throws, but I don't think they're the hardest ones.
What do you think is?
The hardest throw? Man, there's so many different throws. I always say the deeper throws. When if you're trying to throw a go ball with a DB draped on him, running on the inside hip, and you're trying to fit it right over the top, beat a safety that's flying over the top, those ones are tough. When you're trying to throw, kind of over some hook defenders, sometimes those can get tricky because some of these linebackers and guys that play in the NFL they're so long, they're wingspans, so you got to be perfect with your touch and how you're fitting it over there, but also put enough zip on it to be able to beat any like safeties that might be driving it. So hole shots are tough throws sometimes. There's so many tough throws where I think these ones aren't as tough. I love these kind of throws.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's just something I had to ask. The little kid in me had to ask that one. But dude, thank you so much. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Awesome episode. I learned so much. Thank you, man. You're the freaking GOAT.
Nah, of course, bro. No problem. Keep doing your thing, man. I love watching the stuff.